what's happening this week in Conservative Canada. Global News says a Liberal member of Parliament told Chinese diplomat in Toronto to keep 2 innocent Canadians locked up in solitary confinement to help Justin Trudeau win the 2021 federal election.
On this Wednesday night, new allegations against a sitting Liberal MP. Han Dong's alleged push to delay the release of the 2 Michaels, a Global News exclusive.
Liberal MP Han Dong resigns from Liberal caucus. He vows to defend his honor and clear his name.
Media reports today quoted unverified and anonymous sources have attacked my reputation and call into questions my loyalty to Canada. Let me be clear. What has been reported is false, and I will defend myself against these absolutely untrue claims.
Conservative MPs asked the government 25 times when it was that Justin Trudeau was briefed on his Liberal MP's secret meeting in Toronto with a diplomat from Beijing. 25 times the Liberals refused to answer.
I've now twice asked when the Prime Minister, his office, or his department were informed of this startling revelation. So I'm going to ask a third time, and I ask the Minister to answer. When did the Prime Minister become aware of these allegations? When?
Mr. Speaker, September 24th, 2021 was a great day for Canada. It was the day when the 2 Michaels, Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor, came back safely home to Canada.
In the House of Commons, Pierre Poilievre gets into a battle with wits with an unarmed man. In Ontario, Doug Ford's government delivers dollars for healthcare and jobs as the budget gets a boost from a growing economy.
And in this budget, we are showing it is possible to balance a budget while investing more in housing, more in highways, more in transit, more in the skilled trades, more in new manufacturing, and more in healthcare, more in education, and more in the north.
Stephen Harper makes his first major speech in Ottawa since leaving office. Premier Dennis King maintains a big lead on Prince Edward Island as Islanders get ready to vote in a general election. In Ottawa this week, another blockbuster report from Global News. Unnamed Canadian intelligence officials said a Liberal member of Parliament met in Toronto with diplomats from the communist regime in Beijing. He encouraged them to keep 2 innocent Canadians locked up in solitary confinement to help Justin Trudeau win the 2021 election. After the report on Global National News, Liberal MP Han Dong resigned from the Liberal caucus. He vowed to clear his name and to defend his honor.
I want to assure Mr. Michael Spavor and Mr. Michael Kovrig and their families that I did nothing to cause them any harm. Like everyone in this House, I worked hard and advocated for their interest as a parliamentarian. The allegations made against me are as false as the ones made against you.
In recent weeks, Canadian intelligence officers have been leaking information to reporters Robert Fife and Stephen Chase of the Globe and Mail and Sam Cooper of Global News. The question is, why would Canadian intelligence officers betray their oath of secrecy and risk going to jail to leak information about the communist regime in Beijing supporting Justin Trudeau's Liberals? In Parliament, Conservative MPs asked the same question 25 times. When was Justin Trudeau briefed about his Liberal member of Parliament meeting in secrecy with a diplomat from Beijing's communist regime? Liberal ministers refused 25 times to answer the very simple question.
For the 6th time today, on what date did the Prime Minister first learn of these allegations from security officials?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we take the allegations of foreign interference very seriously, which is why we have ensured that our national security agencies have all of the powers, authorities, but with the corresponding transparency that is required to reinforce the confidence of Canadians in our institutions. Mr. Speaker, at every stage, Canadians can be confident that we are protecting our institutions.
Mr. Speaker, again, for the 11th time, on what date did the Prime Minister first learn about the allegation that a Liberal MP suggested to Han Tao, the PRC's Consul General in Toronto, that the PRC delay the release of Mr. Kovrig and Mr. Spavor?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Speaker, we will continue to be transparent with Canadians when it comes to the ways in which we are fighting foreign interference through the collaboration of all parties in the NCCOP, through accountability of NCIRA, and now through the appointment of David Johnston, an eminent Canadian previously appointed by Stephen Harper, a Conservative Prime Minister, someone who will lay out the next practical steps, including and up to a public inquiry, so that all Canadians can be confident that we are protecting our institutions.
Mr. Speaker, allegations emerged that a Liberal MP urged Beijing to not release the two Michaels. The ministers here today so far are evading being honest with Canadians. For the 20th time today, on what date did the Prime Minister first hear about these serious allegations reported in the media?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, when we are dealing with something as serious and as fundamental as foreign interference in our democracy, how we engage in those conversations, how we talk to one another is exceptionally important.
In question period, Pierre Poilievre asked Justin Trudeau why mortgage payments and the rent on a one-bedroom apartment have shot through the roof since Justin Trudeau became Prime Minister.
He doesn't like that idea. Well, how about this one? He's got 37,000 many of them largely empty buildings, big, ugly buildings. Why doesn't he sell off 15% of them so we can convert those into affordable housing for our young people?
Justin Trudeau tried to shift the blame for sky-high mortgage and rental payments back to Stephen Harper.
The former Conservative government refused to invest in any infrastructure larger than a doorknob or an economic action plan sign. We're continuing to invest in significant public transit, including with a permanent public transit fund, something that the Conservatives have again campaigned against.
Things did not go well for Justin Trudeau.
Their very first infrastructure project was to install a doorknob in the Prime Minister's office when they took office, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, speaking of housing.
At Queen's Park, Doug Ford's Progressive Conservative government delivered this year's budget with good news on healthcare, jobs, roads, and Ontario's booming auto industry.
We told them we would build more highways, and we are. Highway 413, we said we would do it. We're building it. The Bradford bypass, we said it, we would do it. We're going to do it. We're building it. The QEW Skyway, widening the 401 East through Durham, and the new Highway 7 in Kitchener. We said we would do all of them, and, Mr. Speaker, we are building them. Mr. Speaker, we are also continuing to make large new investments in transit, including increasing GO Transit service to Niagara from Union Station and bringing back the Northlander from Timmins to Toronto. And we're making progress on the Ontario line. We're also investing in new schools and childcare spaces and hospitals and long-term care homes. Our plan is to build new hospitals and expand the existing ones. It is a plan that is supporting a full continuum of care at Runnymede Healthcare Centre for first responders experiencing post-traumatic stress injury and other mental health challenges. And today we're making that additional investment of $9.6 million for this project to advance towards construction and accelerate it in the next round of approvals. It's also a plan to build a brand new hospital serving Mississauga and Brampton. It's a plan, Mr. Speaker, to redevelop St. Mary's General and Grand River Hospitals in Kitchener-Waterloo. It's also a plan to build a new hospital in Uxbridge and a new one in Windsor. It's a plan to build new schools in communities, including in Pickering, in Ottawa, and Atikokan. It's a plan. It's a plan to build right across this province safe and comfortable long-term care spaces in Cornwall, in Kitchener, and in North Bay, in Ajax, in Owen Sound, North Grenville, and right across this great province. We said we're going to build them. We're building them. Mr. Speaker, you might even say we're getting it done.
In Ottawa, Stephen Harper told a standing room only crowd that Conservatives need to hold Justin Trudeau accountable for 8 years of failure.
Now, that word populist has taken on a number of imprecise and often negative meanings. For instance, if you were to read liberal media around the world, which of course you should not do, there you will find that any election result that they like is, quote, democratic, and any election result they don't like is, quote, populist. Your job today, broadly speaking, indicate a direction you're going to go, but it's not to talk about how you would run the country. It is to hold the government accountable for how it is running the country and making it where it's mismanagement, incompetence, and corruption. That's the job. And I really worry, and I know the people say develop the plans, develop the proposals, but I worry that that's what the liberal media here wants Pierre Poilievre to do. Make himself the issue, let them hold him accountable for his while the government continues on what I think is, for the most part, a pretty poor course, and they're off the hook. The time to tell people about your alternatives in detail is in an election campaign.
Harper also took aim at foreign funding for Liberal election campaigns from the communist regime in Beijing.
The fundraising experience I told you about earlier laid the groundwork for the comprehensive reforms my government made to party fundraising, making parties dependent on a marketplace of small contributions rather than on a combination of big donors and government subsidies. And that system, by the way, doesn't include support from foreign governments. I just thought I would mention that. I don't know why. I hear it's topical.
Premier Dennis King seems to be headed into a big election victory in Prince Edward Island, but he isn't taking anything for granted. Islanders go to the polls in April.
I have been working with the federal government to strike a federal-provincial committee to work towards reducing the tolls at the Confederation Bridge and the Northumberland Ferry system in Wood Islands to $20. It's a commitment that I've gotten from Dominic LeBlanc, the Federal Minister of Infrastructure, that we can work on this. It is a complicated agreement that the federal government has with a private operator to deliver the service that is required, but I do think it's unfair that we're paying a high rate when the similar cost of a project in Montreal doesn't require the citizens of Montreal to have a fare to cross their bridge.
And that's it for this week. Make sure to like and subscribe our page and sign up for our free email updates and stay in the know with what's happening in Conservative Canada.